let's take a look at these lyrics. He starts with, "Oh Father, please forgive us, because we know just what we've done." So right off the bat, when I first heard this, I kind of honestly like did like an internal sigh. I was like, here we go, because this is a Jesus quote. If you don't know, this is a Jesus quote where Jesus is hung up on the cross, and he says, well, it's an altered Jesus quote, and because Jesus's quote was, "Father, please forgive them, for they know not what they do," and it was sort of like a commentary on the ignorance of the people who were persecuting them, and them not really understanding the full scope and magnitude of their of what they were doing by crucifying Jesus, right? In this case, Ivan has said, "Oh Father, please forgive us, because we know just what we've done," which heavily implies that they are guilty of something. Like they have done something. There's a collective we, and they know what they've done is bad, and they are guilty. Again, we're not far enough into the song to really say like, okay, is this good or bad or whatnot? But it does just seem a little bit like when I know it's Five Finger Death Punch and I hear them kind of doing this altered Jesus quote, it's just a little like, it does come off as just a little silly. But again, Ivan and the band have a lot of religious imagery in their songs. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, what are we going to talk about here that warrant, like, are you really about to talk about something that warrants quoting Jesus or misquoting Jesus, however you want to phrase it? I mean, I guess we're going to find out, but my initial reaction when I first heard the song for the first, what are we at? Like 3 seconds. Hold on.
Oh, Father, please forgive us, 'cause we know just what we've done.
Yeah, the first 5 seconds, I was like, all right, here we go, So let's get to the second line. "As we dance around a tombstone and we crash into the sun." So these, now we're getting some metaphorical lines, but they're just a little bit weak, kind of cliche in my opinion. So the dance around the tombstone is a pretty common one. We're circling death, essentially. Like we're circling death. We're walking a fine line, that's essentially what that means. And then he says, "We crash into the sun." This is a Icarus metaphor. Obviously, the story of Icarus is a story of ambition. So the implication here between all of these lines so far is that he's probably talking about humanity as a whole. I mean, again, he's using these large metaphors to convey a sort of a large idea. And based on that, I can presume he's talking about humanity as a whole is guilty of something. We are circling our own death as a result of our ambitions. The album art, as you can see, it has kind of like a robot on the front of it praying. Maybe the implication to me would be that this is related to technology, which ironically is, what I've covered on a few songs already in the past few weeks. So like, this is what Who Will You Follow is about. This was what Magic was about by Avenged Sevenfold. Though I think Magic actually had a really interesting take on it. To me, I thought Who Will You Follow's take was very cliche. And so far this is kind of cliche too. But again, we're only a few seconds in, we can keep going, but yeah, already it just seems to be trotting very familiar territory. And again, I wouldn't even know that it was having to do with technology if it weren't for the cover, but which ironically, I think has gotten blamed for looking suspiciously AI generated. So on one hand, he's complaining about humanity facing their own death through technology. And then on the other hand, they're using technology and AI for their art. Make of that what you will. And again, that's just speculation. I don't know if it's AI generated or not. And I don't even know if that's what they're talking about. But let's keep going, and then I'll talk a little more holistically about this chorus. So then he says, "As the fires rise around us and we bear our crown of thorns." So again, "fires rise around us" is a super cliche line. And, honestly, if you're going to use the word fire in one of your songs nowadays, you really got to make sure that you're being like kind of, unique with it. This is again a problem I had on Who Will You Follow, where she said, you know, we're playing with fire, and then we are the fire. You can't stop desire. Like, we're rhyming fire with desire. It's like, all right, whatever. But yeah, the fire metaphors are super generic. It can mean anything. It's just kind of like I don't know. There's not much to say about it. The idea is like the danger is rising. Okay, sure. But then he says, we bear our crown of thorns. And I think this was where the song really this is again why I kind of almost didn't cover the song, but why I did want to cover it, because by the time he says we bear our crown of thorns, I just sort of immediately wrote the song off. So just to be clear, the crown of thorns was given to Jesus as a mockery of his alleged like being the Son of God. So metaphorically, it represents sort of a undue punishment, because, you know, Jesus was the Son of God. I mean, if you're a Christian, you believe that. And even if you aren't a Christian, you probably don't think that Jesus should have been killed and murdered. So even in that sense, the crown of thorns, even if you don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God, you can admit that the crown of thorns represents martyrdom. So we already have a conflict in this chorus, even with as general and ambiguous as it is. So he starts the song off with, Father, please forgive us because we know just what we've done, which is an implication of guilt. He's saying we are guilty of something. And then just 3 lines later, he says, we bear our crown of thorns, which means undue punishment and martyrdom. So are we guilty or are we not? He doesn't understand what the crown of thorns represents, and he's already conflicted. He's already contradicted himself. I'm going to get into it. Let's finish this chorus out. But already we just don't even know. Are we guilty or are we not? Are we the bad guys or are we being punished unfairly? Are we dying from our ambitions? Or the last line is, we can finally rest in pieces in the eye of the storm. So again, rest in pieces is just kind of like a meme. It's like a play on rest in peace. I guess he's saying we destroyed ourselves. But the thing is, the eye of the storm as a metaphor means like a brief, temporary moment of peace amongst chaos. So is he saying we're going to die in the peace amongst the chaos? Are we in the peace amongst the chaos? It's just one of the, is that what this song is supposed to be? Because this song is fairly heavy and aggressive. It doesn't seem to be, to me, this song doesn't represent an eye of the storm type of moment where we're having a moment of peace. Unless there's, hold on, let me just see. Eye of the storm meaning, maybe there's a meaning that I don't understand. I guess it's Google says the center of a chaotic, turbulent, or controversial situation, but maintaining a sense of control and composure. Yeah, I guess, but the problem is he says we finally rest in pieces in the eye of the storm, which means we die. So we died in the eye of the storm. So we obviously didn't have control or composure over the situation. And in fact, by implying we crash into the sun, we dance around the tombstone, that specifically implies that we don't have control of the situation. This is not a peaceful moment. So again, I'm going to dive in. The thing is we're only 10 seconds in, or what are we at? 20 seconds in? Yeah, 20 seconds in, and we're already completely, the chorus is just completely contradictory. So let's actually talk about this, and let's talk about bad lyrics, because these are bad lyrics. It's a bad chorus. So in general, we're taking a step back, and then we'll kind of dive back into it. So in general, I've always considered Ivan to be one of the worst lyricists in hard rock. His writing is full of completely unnecessary and superfluous repetition. There's that one song, A Little Bit Off Today, where he says, I'm a little bit off today, a little bit off today, 30 times. It's unbelievable. 30, I don't even think it's 30. I think it's way more than 30. You know what? I'm kind of curious. Little bit off today lyrics. Let me just take a quick look real quick. Yeah, I mean, he just says it over and over and over and over again. Yeah, there's like 4 choruses. So yeah, completely unnecessary repetition. But he doesn't. It's not, that song's an extreme example, but he does it across all the fucking songs. It's ridiculous. On top of that, he's full of extremely cliche lyrics. He's constantly saying things like, I've got a demon inside, like Jekyll and Hyde, the devil inside, and I don't know why. I'm just trying to live my life. Burn, motherfucker, burn, motherfucker, burn. It's like just the most cliche, standard crap that you could ever get from a lyricist in metal. That's what Ivan Moody does. And then on top of that, so we got unnecessary repetitions, like ridiculous amounts of repetitions, super cliche with a lot of the words and word choices and phrasing that he does. And then you get situations like this song where it's typically like just a thoughtless word salad. We're just going to take phrases and words that we think sound cool and just cram them together without any thought of what they actually mean or what the purpose of the phrases are or why they have any significance to them. Like, why would you choose it as a phrase to begin with? And he does this a lot with like religious imagery. I'd say he did this on Wrong Side of Heaven. I think Wrong Side of Heaven was like good enough for him to sort of, that song is a mess, but it at least was like just good enough to hit that exact demographic of like the morally gray edgelords who are like, I walk the line between good and evil. I'm on the wrong side of heaven and the righteous side of hell. But if you take 2 seconds to think about it, it's like you're on the righteous side of hell. Like, just pause. You're right. You're on hell's side. You're on the righteous side of hell. Like, there is no righteous side of hell. It's kind of the whole point of hell. It's a bad, like, they're not righteous people. Righteous people don't go to hell. It's the whole point. But no, it sounds cool, and so we're going to throw it in the song. And that's exactly what we got here. Now, when we get to when we talk about like religious imagery as well, this is something that amateur writers will do all the time to try and elevate a shallow theme. You see this a lot in pop songs. I think the most recent example was Ordinary by Alex Warren, which was just full of like, I'm bound down to your sanctuary, and all he's talking about is like a girl's vagina, and it's just ridiculous. It's stupid. And yeah, Five Finger Death Punch all the time with the religious imagery. He's even got the angels on the album cover of this song, the Eye of the Storm artwork. It's like, and yet their songs are super, some of the most surface level, shallow songwriting that you really will ever hear. I mean, and if you disagree, if you like, I want you to ask yourself, does he have better lyrics, like more deep lyrics than Megadeth, than Pantera, than Metallica, than Slipknot, than Avenged Sevenfold? Hell, even Disturbed. And like, Disturbed is almost kind of notorious for cliche lyrics, but at least Disturbed knows how to have like a proper theme and subject for a song. This song, I don't even know what you could say about it, right? It's just completely lacking any nuance. And so that's kind of, and this is what I mean, right? This is why I really wanted to hone in on the lyrics, because I actually think Five Finger Death Punch is pretty cool. From like a holistic perspective, they are fun. I know that I'll talk shit about like Jekyll and Hyde and Wrong Side of Heaven, but it's like those songs have their appeal, and they're not like all bad, though I do think they're not great. The thing is, no one talks about this band on the same level as Pantera or Metallica or Slipknot, because I believe specifically because the lyrics are so shitty. They're so bad. He's such a bad lyricist that he can't actually formulate like a serious song. And like it's just tough. It's tough to see. Because again, I think the people in the band, including Ivan, are very talented musicians, but when your lyrics are this sort of cardboard, cookie cutter, bland as hell and meaningless, it's just tough to actually get any notoriety or to have that long lasting, like timeless impact, So now that I've kind of given a little bit of like background on like the type of cliches and things that they do, let's just dive into these lyrics specifically. So when we look at these chorus lyrics, none of these phrases actually is bad on their own. I mean, they seem they're interesting phrases if used right. I mean, one of them is literally a Jesus quote, right? Like the crown of thorns is cool imagery. The idea of like dancing around a tombstone, or the Icarus metaphor is a very common crashing into the sun. That's a metaphor that is very common for a reason. It's symbolic of a very deep idea, a very deep theme within humanity of like our ambitions and desires getting the best of us and eventually being the thing that is our undoing. And then even the idea of like the eye of the storm, it's a very popular concept. Things are going crazy around you, but there is, I think you can take it two ways. There's either like a moment, a brief reprieve, like a moment of peace, or it's like you are in the center of a conflict, but you are actually maintaining control and composure. These are all very interesting concepts and themes on their own. They completely don't conflict with each other when combined in this way. They don't make any sense. Are we guilty or are we not guilty? Are we crashing into the sun, or are we dying peacefully, resting in pieces in the eye of the storm? Do we have our composure, or are we dancing around a tombstone? Do we want forgiveness, or are we asking the Lord for forgiveness, or are we wearing the crown of thorns, meaning that we haven't done anything wrong and that we are martyrs? Every line seems to contradict the prior line. It's just a mess. There's no cohesion. So this idea, though, that he's taken these various phrases and just crammed them together, this is, again, like kind of another amateur style of songwriting. I took a note, like, think about the song Afterlife by Avenged Sevenfold, released around the same time that Five Finger Death Punch was blowing up. So most of y'all will know that song. The chorus of Afterlife says, "I don't belong here. We've got to move on, dear." So those lyrics, I don't belong here, we've got to move on, dear, is not like some quippy phrase. It's not a phrase that we hear commonly the same way that we would hear, like, say, for example, we dance around a tombstone, or rest in pieces, or, Father, please forgive us. It's not it was an original sentence, original lyric that they wrote for Afterlife. And it's not some popular phrase, and yet it has so much more meaning and depth to it, because it's representing a conflict, right? It's a character telling a story and showing his side of a conflict within that song Afterlife. Whereas this, even though it uses all of these very commonly heard and commonly known phrases, has no real impact or meaning or potency, because there's been no thought taken to what these phrases mean and how they should actually work with each other. So, yeah, I mean, there's really nothing to talk about with this chorus. I mean, it's an ambiguous conflict. That's the most I could say. There's conflict, sure. The truth is, with everything that I'm saying, I'm putting in much more effort, with what I'm saying right now, than he ever did when he was putting this together. He just kind of, it's like a kid playing with action figures. He just took these words and phrases and he just smashed them together like a caveman. And it's a shame, but again, this is why I think it's important to point this stuff out. Like, why doesn't this chorus work? Why is it not really leaving an impact? And this is why. So yeah, very, very meager lyrics already. We're only 20 seconds into the song. And we've already kind of got a mess. So with that said, let's keep going.